Chapter 7. Are the promises made to those who recite the Rosary of St. Michael true? The promises are real, but you need not think that people who recite it out of routine, and without any pains to become holy, are taken out of purgatory at once. That would be false. St. Michael does more than he promises, but he is not over-anxious to relieve those who are condemned to a long purgatory. Certainly as a reward for their devotion to the Archangel their sufferings are shortened, but as to delivering them at once, not so. I, who used to say it, can serve as an example of this. Immediate deliverance takes place only in the case of those who have worked with courage at their perfection, and who have little to expiate in purgatory. France is indeed very guilty, but unfortunately she is not the only one. At this moment there is not a single Christian kingdom that is not openly, or by underhanded means, trying to expel God from its midst. The secret societies, and their master, the devil, are fermenting, and stirring up all this trouble. This is now the hour of the Prince of Darkness. While he is in power, he may do his worst, but God will show that he alone is master. He may use severity to manifest his power, but even in his vengeance, Jesus is yet always merciful. By the permission of God, we in purgatory know what is happening on earth at this moment, so that we may pray for those great needs. But our prayers alone will not suffice. If Jesus could only find some really good souls who were willing to make reparation and disarm his outraged majesty, it would indeed please his divine heart, now deluged by so much bitterness. Such souls might obtain his mercy, since God desires to pardon those who humble themselves. Tell this to Mother Superior. St. Michael will intervene in the personal struggle of the Church, which is so terribly persecuted, but not so easily destroyed as the wicked think. It is he who is also the special patron of France, and who will help her to take her rank as the eldest daughter of the Church. Because, notwithstanding all the wickedness that is committed in France, there is still much good, and so many devoted souls there. I do not know when St. Michael will intervene. You must pray much for this intention. Invoke the Archangel, remind him of his titles, and beseech him to intercede with Christ, over whose heart he has such influence. But be sure that the Blessed Virgin is not forgotten. France is her kingdom, privileged over all others. She will save it. Those who promote the recitation of the Rosary everywhere deserve praise. It is this prayer that is the most efficacious in the present time of need. The heroic act is very pleasing to God and of great help to the souls in purgatory, and very helpful to the generous souls who make it. By giving up a part of their merits, they do not lose, but actually gain. As for the plenary indulgences, I may as well tell you that few, very few people gain them entirely. There has to be such a wonderful disposition of heart and will that it is rare, much rarer than you think it is, to have the entire remission of one's faults. In purgatory, we receive only the indulgences applied to us by way of suffrage, as God permits according to our dispositions. It is true that we have no inclination to sin, but we are no longer in the reign of mercy, but under that of divine justice, so that we receive only what God wants us to have. When a soul is near the object of its desires, namely, heaven, it may be delivered and admitted to eternal joy by the efficacy of one plenary indulgence well gained, or even gained only in half, and applied to its intentions, but for other souls it is not so. They have often during life despised, or made little use of indulgences, and God, who is always just, rewards them according to their works. They gain something, as it pleases God, but hardly ever the full benefit of the indulgence. May 1880. Work without ceasing, and with all your strength at your own perfection. If you want to, you can become what Jesus wishes you to be. for you have enough strength of character to overcome all the difficulties which stand in the way of your union with him. Your life will be a continual martyrdom, but a martyrdom in which you will nevertheless taste the sweetest joys. When a soul suffers, he for whom she suffers gives her, at each sacrifice, each renunciation, a fresh grace which encourages her to go steadily onward in her devotedness. Nothing gives Jesus greater pleasure than to see a soul that, notwithstanding all the obstacles which obstruct her path, forces herself to be ever more and more devoted in procuring the glory of God and promoting his love. You are sad in seeing how God is insulted in Paris, but those poor people do not know what they are doing, in spite of all their blasphemies. Jesus is much more outraged by the sins of those consecrated to him than by the more violent crimes of those who are not his friends. How many souls whom Jesus has called to perfection remain always worthless because they have not corresponded to divine grace? One must put oneself out and constantly check and keep oneself up to a very high standard to be happy in God's service. How very few interior souls there are in the world, and even in religious communities. Each one seeks her own ease and comfort and refuses to be inconvenienced in the smallest thing. And yet God would be so happy if they would only love him without constraint and with all their hearts. If he could only find such joy in this community, what innumerable graces he would shower upon it. For yourself, work your hardest at self-conquest and at loving Jesus, which he has been seeking from you for such a long time. Jesus desires that you should love him with the love of a child, that is, with the tenderness with which a child seeks to give pleasure to beloved parents. You are still so cold towards Jesus, and this is not what he expects of you when he in turn loves you so much. August 1880. There are numbers of useless actions, many days entirely futile, without any love for Jesus or purity of intention. They are all lost since they have no value for heaven. You do not direct your intention with the purity that God wills. For instance, instead of offering up your actions vaguely, you could do so with much more fruit, if you only made your intention more definite. When you take your meals, for example, say, "O my Jesus, nourish my soul with your divine grace while I nourish my body." When you wash your face and hands, say, "My Jesus, purify my soul as I am purifying my body," and so on for each of your actions. Accustom yourself to be always speaking heart to heart with Jesus, and let him be the mainspring of all you do or say. Do you understand me? You must never excuse yourself. What difference does it make to you whether others think you guilty if you are innocent? And if you see that you have failed in any way, humble yourself and keep silence. Never excuse yourself even in your own thoughts. September 2nd, Retreat. You told the Father this morning that it annoyed you very much to hear me and that you would prefer to be like everyone else. During the year you wrote the same thing to him, and you have often said the same to Mother Superior. Why do you fret like this? Is it not God who allows everything? It has nothing to do with you. Try to profit by these graces and stop complaining. You have not yet heard all that you will hear, and you have not yet seen all that you will see. Tell that to your Father, and tell him also that I am not the devil. He does not think so. It is you only who have these fears. Calm yourself and profit by this retreat. From this moment you must change absolutely. Do not give way to all these reflections, thinking only about yourself. That is self-love and nothing else. Instead, open your heart to grace, cling to Jesus, and do not waste your precious time in wondering why this and why that. God plans to give you great graces, and to him also whom he has sent to you to tell you what he wants from you. Adore his designs without seeking to understand them. The Father will say many things in the sermons which are for you, though he will not think of that. Jesus allows this. Therefore profit by this holy retreat, for it will be decisive for you. It is only those actions done with great love and under the eye of God, wishing to do his holy will, that will receive their reward immediately, without the soul passing through purgatory. What great blindness there is in the world about all this. November. The retreat is finished for all the rest, but for you it must not finish at all. You must go on with it all the year, and always in your heart, even in the midst of your most absorbing occupations. Have your own little cell where you can recollect yourself and speak heart to heart with Jesus, and never lose sight of him. Last year you were too much distracted. Now it must be so no longer. You have promised God, and you have also promised the Father that you are going to begin a new life. You must then keep your word at any price. It will cost you effort, but will it cost you less later on? No, alas, everything passes so quickly, and you, like the rest, do not pay attention to this. Jesus has been pursuing you for such a long time. Surely you will not refuse to abandon yourself entirely into his hands after all the graces he has showered upon you? If you would only let him have his way, you would become a saint, and he wants you to be a great saint. Has the Father not told you again during these days, in the name of God, that there is no middle course for you? How many people have already told you the same thing, and you are indifferent, though these warnings should have been sacred to you? It seems to me that this time you have paid more attention to, and have been more impressed by this word, again repeated to you. Think often about it, for it is very serious. I have told you that Jesus is waiting for a small effort on your part, and he will do the rest. Be very generous. What could you not obtain from God if only you were what he wants you to be? What a close union he desires to have with your soul. What joys he has in store for you if you only knew how good Jesus is to you. Often reflect upon the choice gifts bestowed on you. Mother Superior told you that it was especially for you that she asked for the same Father this year for the retreat, and you did not believe her. Nevertheless, it was true. She followed the inspiration given her by God, who wished you to know the Father better, and also that he should know you better. Profit by this grace, which will not be the last. Put into practice all he tells you to do. You are free, so open to him your heart so that he may read it like a book. If he only knew you as I do, one does not know you at first sight. It takes time. All those thoughts you had yesterday were diabolical. The devil will do his utmost to hinder the good that will be done in spite of him. Cherish most gratefully all the graces of the retreat, and never lose sight of them. Do not be afraid to sacrifice yourself from morning to night in order to do God's will. He will reward you magnificently. Why was I so thrilled when I heard the Father's first words? That was already the prelude to the graces which you were to receive during the retreat. There are certain attractions between souls which are not understood here on earth. God has made the soul of that Father and yours for each other, and that is why you were so impressed when he spoke, and you will often experience the same sentiment in the future. Pray much for this Father, whom Jesus has given you to help you to raise your soul to him. He needs stronger and higher graces than most people, in order not to be discouraged. In his work he meets with repulsive and tiring days that impose upon his nature. His life is hard and penitential. You must help him by your prayers. So far you have done so, but it is not enough. You must offer up your works and some of your exterior sufferings, some of your sacrifices. In a word, unite his intentions to all you do, and unite yourself with his works. Jesus has great designs upon him, as he has also upon you. For this reason he allows you to speak to him and open your heart to him. Regard him as your Father, and be submissive to him as a true child, and God will be pleased. Do not be disturbed because I say all this to you. You have been carrying out most of what I said to you. I had to tell you this, and you must repeat it to the Father. Do you hear me? This retreat has been very pleasing to God and very profitable to souls. It is with joy that Jesus sees the souls of religious turning to him and seeking him as their one end. It is for this that Jesus calls them into his service, but how easy it is on earth to forget what is most sacred. A good retreat helps souls to renew their first fervour, and this is what happened in the one you have just made. It has greatly consoled the Sacred Heart of Jesus. What are the few moments we have to pass on earth compared to eternity? At the hour of death, you will not find that you have done too much. Be very generous, do not listen to yourself, but always look at the goal to which Jesus calls you. That is sanctity, pure love. Then go forward and never look back. Great crosses, crosses that often break the heart, so to say, are the portion of God's own friends. You recently complained to Jesus that he had sent you very many sorrows this year. It is true, but why do you find these crosses so heavy? It is because you do not love enough, and yet you have not come to the end of your trials. Those that you have had up to now are only the forerunners of what you may expect. Did I not tell you that you would suffer always in body and in soul, and often in both together? There is no holiness without suffering. When you allow grace to work freely in you, when Jesus really reigns over your will, and you allow him to be absolute master of your whole being, then, no matter how heavy the crosses are, you will not feel their weight. Love will absorb everything, but until that time comes you will suffer, and suffer much, because the soul does not in 1 minute detach itself from everything so as to act only for pure love. God sees your efforts with pleasure. Oh, if only he were better known and understood on earth. But no, he is forgotten. At least do you love him and console him? Let your efforts always grow in intensity, so as to give him more pleasure. Work hard without relaxing, so that you may soon reach the degree of sanctity that he desires of you.